Welcome to our 138th episode of Gorilla Radio. We're back for another episode, first week of the season, and wrestling started yesterday. Madison won the paddle again, defeating Southwestern of Hanover 54-17 or something of that nature.
Do those guys wrestle a lot during the season? Isn't that one of the ones that they wrestle a good amount of times, or is it not?
Yeah, they see each other more than once, I believe. I know their new coach is trying to rectify that, and I know so yeah, they won the paddle. There's a huge, I don't know if you've seen the trophy. The trophy's like huge. That they
I think we have before.
Yeah, so it's so the paddle stays in Madison. The last coach to lose to Southwestern. Trivia question? You want to know who that is? The last Madison coach to lose to Southwestern. Oh,
I don't know a lot of the coaches there, so I'm not sure who.
Dustin Bentz.
No,
Yeah.
I would never have guessed.
That was when Southwestern had that pretty stacked team, though. So it wasn't like a fluke thing. It was they had they had Schroeder, and they had a pretty solid team top to bottom. From what I remember, from what Dustin told me, he's the one that gave me that information. So we'll have to ask him about that when we get him on here later this year.
Yeah, I seen the semi-state rankings were coming out this week too.
Yeah, we got you and Caleb are slacking. I don't know, but did you tell me that they were ready?
Man, mine are close. I got them pretty close. We can get it done.
Nice.
There's a lot of forfeits in this one.
Yes, there were.
I'm looking at the result now.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a not as good of a duel as it used to be. So this week,
Do you feel like if you're an official, like, do you go there and you're like happy like to do a match like that, or do you want to like do like an exciting match, like I mean that's not exciting. The rivalry is great. I seen that Triple B got his official's license. Congratulations, my guy.
Yeah.
But like, would you rather, if you're like an official, and obviously I'm not, would you rather do like a really tight duel, or would you rather do like one? I don't think any of them went 6 minutes. Not a match with 6 minutes.
Well,
There was a tech fall.
The hard part is you have to be there an hour early to do weigh-ins. so that's the worst part is you do weigh-ins. It takes you 20 minutes to do weigh-ins, or 5 minutes to do weigh-ins. Then you sit around for an hour. Then you do a duel. So you're still getting paid. Yeah, I don't know. Depends on who you are. And I know of a pretty high level ref that would always make sure he does like a school like that would only have a few kids, and would always clamor that he was home by 6:30 at a 6 o'clock duel. So
Pretty quick.
yeah. So but I mean you're getting paid the $80, $70, $80, whatever it is usually for it. So I mean it is what it is. Just go get some money, and makes either way. So yeah, got some good matches coming up. Wawasee Belmont to Friday. Is it Friday? I think it's Friday. It's the 18th.
I like the Friday night duel. I mean, a little tougher during football season for like those guys are both done though, right?
Yeah.
I think we're into the States, but that should be an exciting duel meet.
Yeah, that should be.
Wawasee's.
Yeah, Wawasee always be good. Wawasee's always solid. I'm not sure some of the matchups because our weights are not the best. And you could have a Gavin Davis and Hunter Miller match, or that could be an interesting one. I know there's like Logan Stuckman's there. Not sure what weight they are. So there should be some good matches in there. You always know, both teams are going to come out and they're going to scrap, so that should be a good match. Friday night duel there. Jeffersonville, Franklin Community should be a pretty solid one. I think Franklin's going down to Jeffersonville.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I bet the over and under on headlocks is 3.5. So we don't get a push.
per match.
No, overall. We gotta go overall.
Oh, geez.
Any
If there's less
higher?
than
You think
10, I'd be
higher?
surprised.
Oh, we gotta go in a half, man. You can't want to land on 10.
Yeah.
We're gambling now. We're gonna do a IndianaMat gambling show.
9.5 headlocks, definitely. You got Cascade and Purdue Polytech. Purdue Polytech, like we said last week, they're officially sanctioned this year, so they have Silas Foster's really tough.
South Foster is really tough. Don McFeely, kind of the same area. Maybe we
Yeah,
get a bump up Don McFeely, Silas Foster. If Silas Foster's at 32, that could be exciting.
yeah. There should. I mean, Cascade's gonna have a pretty solid team, and hopefully, I know Purdue Polytech should. I think they've had a pretty full team recently, so and they have some. They pick up another guy like Silas Foster ends up there, they might be pretty solid. Um,
I think Cascade's been doing a good job. Just I like the video stuff that they do. I always think that's pretty cool. But getting the home meets and getting the excitement up, that'd be good for those guys to open up. I'm sure, Coach Quinn and the staff have some stuff in store.
yeah, I know they're pretty excited. They brought just a crazy vibe to that school, and it's amazing. You get a young coach that's excited and wants it. How quickly people follow that. Obviously,
Oh yeah.
Quinn's always been an exciting individual, so that doesn't surprise me. I mean, I remember coaching against him and seeing him, at ISWA events, and just love the sport, and has a passion for it, and it shows in him. Shows now, and he's 23 years old, 24 something. He's pretty young for a head coach. So,
Who who's the new head coach? He was at Ben Davis for a little bit. Then Thomas Johnson was the head coach, and Thomas Johnson's not there now. I
correct.
tried to follow the coaches post, but I didn't know if they had posted the new coach there yet.
Um, I know who it is. I have not updated that for a long time. I can figure that out. I have seen it. I know the name, but I do not know offhand. It's someone that was there for a while.
Nab.
Now is that sounds right. Um, yeah, but yeah, I'm looking it up right now. I know they posted it. There's a yeah. So someone that was there for a while. I saw the stuff about it earlier this year and everything. Um, so yeah, I mean that's a program that if they get going in the right direction, they could be pretty tough in that area right there in west of Indy, where there's a lot of good clubs to go to and send kids to, and it's always been kind of one of those programs that you're just waiting for someone to get in there and do real well. So I believe he was there for a while. So anyway, other events going on. Yeah, one of the bigger ones will be the where's it at? Capital City Classic at Beech Grove. You'll have Jeffersonville, Beech Grove, Franklin Central, Indian Creek, New Pal, Perry, Plainfield, and Westfield. So that should be a pretty solid event. Do they have brackets out? No.
That one is always really good.
I don't know if I believe they're going back. It looks like they're going back to brackets. They've been like kind of a pool. I think duels the past few years, but yeah, there's a lot of good guys in there that could be that are going to be in the mix. It depends on what weights people are at right now. Yeah, I don't know what Sometimes they're not down to their weights right away, so you can have some good matches. I do not believe Platinov is doing anything in college. I don't know if I assume he's going to college, but I do not know. But yeah, that should be a pretty good event. A lot of ranked guys, a lot of some good matches that could be happening. Just depends on what weights everyone is at. Hopefully, the brackets will be released soon. Obviously, early in the week. I don't know if they've been done or not. You also have the John Hurley. That has a gazillion wrestlers in it, or teams. Where'd it go?
That's also a good one. I think there's always a couple good matches there. It's pretty polytechnical there. I believe that who's there? It's
Yeah,
Brown
pretty.
Brownsburg's B team, right? Not their one. Cardinal Ritter, Eastern Hancock, Indianapolis Arsenal Tech, Crispus Attucks, Indianapolis George Washington, Kokomo, Monrovia, Perry Meridian, Purdue Polytech, Richmond, Southport, Tri, and Warren Central.
Yeah, Thrival Academy. What is that? They
Mm-hmm.
just edited the teams. There's a Thrival Academy in Indiana. I do not know if that is a real team or they meant try. That'll be interesting. There's a Thrival Indiana Academy.
The Hamilton Heights Super Duel.
Yep,
I don't know who's out there.
that's gonna be a that could be a good one. Um, they have Noblesville, North Central, Pendleton Heights, Tipton. I think they might have another team in there, but I'm not certain. I'm sure the Iron Bear does listen in on it, and if there's any teams missing, he can help us out. It should be Hamilton Heights should have a pretty solid team this year. I think they return a lot of their guys. Um, so, any big weight changes or any other big news that you had from this week?
Rankings wise, uh, I mean, sounds like Coy Hamlick's gonna go 32. I thought he was gonna go 52. Those guys were kind of all around. Got to see Tell City's projected lineup, but I mean, Coy Hamlick at 32, probably that'll be in the mix. That'd be tough. I mean, 32 is a tough weight. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, like now, I don't think a lot of guys are gonna try to cut to go 26 with Frazier and Lavelle there, but that could be one. Maybe some of those guys slide up to 38. Uh,
Yeah, that was a Hammock. I believe that was someone pretty close to him was commenting that they didn't. There's no way he wrestled 52, and that's what he wrestled at in June. So, I guess.
yeah.
I mean,
I mean, not a ton. I don't think a couple here or there, a couple people, kind of giving results that like maybe, like when you throw it all together, like I'm not gonna like I try to dig. We keep all the results from last year, so I kind of get a peek at it. And obviously there's some I'm gonna mess up, and we'll try to fix them. So I think the update will be pretty quick. I think that'll be. I know a couple guys out. A couple coaches said, yeah, that guy's not going to be part of the team, or that guy's out. So we took them out, which opens the door for someone else to get in there. Trying to think of anybody. I'm trying to think any big ones. I mean, the big one, like everyone, we kind of talked about it, that, Willie kind of said on Twitter that Christian Carroll might not wrestle in Indiana this year.
yeah,
I mean,
that's the rumor we're hearing. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, or if he does something similar to what Mo did last year. Maybe wrestle half a year, do a half a year somewhere else. But that opened the door for a lot of people. One in Fort Wayne, I'm sure they'll be excited. Whoever was going to win the semi-state, I mean, that'd be two really big guys out of Fort Wayne, honestly, because Clark's out right now, and Carroll possibly out.
yeah,
Be excited from Brandon Jellison, Elkhart.
yeah, Jellison will definitely, you know, and that's Carroll's in the same would be in the same regional too. So, I mean, obviously then Jellison becomes the favorite to win state because Fort Wayne's heavyweight central, right?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, it's kind of where I was going
Might as well
with
just
that.
put him number one.
The rankings posted to the board this week, right?
Yeah, I posted them there last week, so everyone can see them. Obviously, magazines are they were supposed to be here yesterday. Some were supposed to be here today. They 2 of the 3 packages will be here tomorrow. So hopefully, hoping to have a quick turnaround to get those mailed out to everybody. So I'm excited to see them, get my hands on them. So I don't know what. There's one package that might be here on Thursday. So I was hoping, I was like, oh, you said that we're gonna go tomorrow today. I was like, oh, maybe I'll have some magazines to show off, and they didn't show up. So one's still supposed to be here between 2 and 4 today. It hasn't been updated, even though it just arrived in Fort Wayne. So yeah, rankings are up there. So yeah, we're gonna kind of keep an eye on the Christian Carroll, what he's doing. I know originally he was talking about only not wrestling his senior year and going to an RTC and just training. So I don't know. I mean, not sure exactly what he's going to do right now. So we'll see what happens when talk to Mr. Maggart. I know he'll text me and tell me everything that's going on. So
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I think when we kind of talked about it when we were hearing it, and I had heard it a couple weeks back, and we were kind of like texting back and forth. But like, part of it is, do you really want to text a coach and ask him that,
yeah.
or if
So is that jealous?
like that's not, yeah, jealous.
Wonder if he.
That's what it sounds like. I think kind of looking, I'm just on track looking at some of the stuff this weekend. Do you feel like if they did a Joe Caprino invite, do you feel like you'd want like teams that you like to compete against, or would you want it to be like really, really hard? Like if you have like the Chris Trikoff Memorial, and I think that's a pretty tough tournament, or Al Smith. Al Smith's obviously still alive. But like that's an incredibly tough tournament, or would you want like something that like, let's say Garrett put it on, Garrett would just go out and just dominate?
I want it to be a tough tournament. I would want an Al Smith, Trikoff, kind of what they're doing with the Carnahan type stuff. Definitely would not want it to be a lesser event,
But I see that. I mean, there's a lot of. It seems that there's a lot of tournaments this weekend coming up that have like John Hurley, and John Hurley. That's a tough one. That one's solid. I couldn't tell you who's at the Roland Beckham Fall Brawl, but Roland Beckham was as a IndianaMat coach. The Mike Atwood Memorial. I know Coach Atwood had passed away, I believe, last year, right?
Yeah,
Longtime Delphi coach.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I saw that. I saw that was on the schedule, the Delphi one. And Atwood is a great guy. Should be a pretty solid tournament. I mean, they got Benton Central, Culver Academies, Delphi, Harrison, North Newton, Seeger, South Newton, Twin Lakes. So for first year, it's not a bad event for those smaller schools.
Yeah, I mean they're a smaller school too. I think that's always one of those things that I remember I used to talk with Eric about that. Like, oh man, let's do the Mike Reiser Invitational. We'll invite like all these schools that aren't great. I was gonna say some schools, but I didn't want to put anybody out there. Like that'd be rude.
Yeah.
I know one of the girls that plays on our softball team. She's wrestling this year. I know she's wrestling this weekend, so I think they're gonna wrestle in the morning and then drive out to Rosemount. We're playing at the Bandit Stadium, so
nice.
I'm excited for her. I guess she wrestled as a kid, and now that women's wrestling, she's only gonna wrestle girls, so she's excited to get back into it.
Yeah,
her dad said she was like an ISWA runner-up. She lost to Rhiannon Murphy. I was like, not a bad loss.
Yeah, it's getting better. It's starting to get a lot better there. So I mean, like I know there's like 2 or 3 events this year. There's 3 events this weekend: Rochester, Clinton Prairie, and Northview, and all have quite a few teams here. And that's starting to get pretty big. I actually on this week and on the schedules. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but it has been. I have separated the girls' schedule and the guys' schedule there. so that you can kind of tell the difference instead of just putting girls there. I got girls events Thursday. Columbia City and Jay County. They were the first dual meet in Indiana history last year, and they're gonna renew that rivalry. And it was real good. Came down to criteria, so I know East Noble had a really big event last weekend. Quite a few girls, and they all got a lot of good matches. Rochester, I think they have some pretty good girls. They've had some pretty good success. They're gonna have an event this weekend, so it's
I think
good.
Zach said Hubbard has 20 girls. I know they got a girl that's a really good softball player on their team too.
Nice.
She's a beast.
Yeah.
7 girls at Chatard. Chatard's doing. You guys are doing a good job, man. Like I think they're making some name. They're making some waves. We've seen a lot of guys on the watch list and the rankings. I think kind of going over Howie's rankings, it looks like those guys are kind of breaking through and starting to get some buzz too.
Yeah.
How big is Chatard as a school?
Chatard? That's interesting. I don't know. I'm sure Nate will tell us how big they are. I think they're like a 3A school.
Oh, are they? I thought they were smaller. I thought they were like a 2A.
I believe. Let me see. There's websites for that. Not IndianaMat. Well, I mean IndianaMat. 700. Okay.
7.
So that's about.
So
It's a small 3A, I think. I think that's about the same
that
as Garrett.
I mean, those guys are doing a good job, kind of building something up, and they could be in the mix to be at ISWA in a couple of years, and that's an exciting day. I think we talk about that a lot, but like, I'm glad that more teams are participating in that, and like some of the top teams, because I think that makes for an exciting day of duels, and everyone's getting matches.
Yeah, they are 3. Yeah, they're 3A football. So yeah, just over 700 kids. But yeah, no, the girls wrestling is starting to take off, and it's pretty neat. I actually had a conversation with someone from Ohio today, and he was asking about it, girls wrestling and stuff. And in Ohio, which I didn't know, they allow the girls to wrestle boys during the regular season. And one of the things he said that they kind of proposed, in their thought process was, we have a lot of smaller schools. They don't have the resources. They don't have the numbers of girls. They don't have the coaches, all that, to be going to the girls only events. So being able to wrestle boys here and there, some girls would, have just a few matches going into the state series. So them being able to wrestle boys, whether it's a exhibition / JV or whatever, being able to wrestle, period, is better than nothing. And then he said that they have an option, I believe this year, that it's sanctioned, but they have to declare whether they're going to wrestle in the boys tournament or the girls tournament. So they can wrestle in the boys tournament if they want. They just have to declare that, and they can only wrestle in one. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah. So I text that information to Mr. Struck, and hopefully he can talk to that guy about kind of the way they proposed it, the way they went about it with their state association. I think that'd be good resource to maybe talk to our people about, having that option. I mean, obviously, I know of at least 2 or 3 girls that would probably rather wrestle the boys state tournament. So I think it's a good avenue to at least try to get that going through. I mean, if you want to test yourself there, do it. If not, then go, with the girls. So that should be interesting to see how that all works out.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things that we were talking about last year with Ocampo. She wants to compete against the boys. I know that was something that Murphy said in her article this week in the Times, that she wants to come and compete against the boys. I think that if we eliminate that option, I think we might lose some girls out going to maybe different states and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, knowing that Ohio allows that could they're not too far away to be able to do, to to move, I guess, if you want to move. But yeah, that it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because wrestling's the IGSA doesn't like to make wrestling specific rules, which doesn't bode well. But hopefully, we got Jason Cook coming in to help smooth that over, and he'll help us out, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So now we got hopefully we keep the momentum, and it looks like more and more girls events are coming up or popping up, and more girls are wrestling. I don't know how many were at East Noble, but I know there were quite a few. There were, let's see.
I was just looking at the results. There was a ton.
Yeah, there are 125 girls there and about 23 teams. So that's good to see, that many teams. Most teams brought multiple girls. Um, you know, so that should be. I mean, that's good to see. 125 girls are wrestling. So, and there's a lot of teams that we didn't. I'm looking at some of these teams, and I don't know if they entered any girls at the regional last year. And some of them have 4, 5, 6 girls on their team. So that's good to see that it's going to get big. It's going to explode. And I know Iowa exploded. I mean, they've like tripled the number of girls. Might be 5 times. I don't know. They've exploded there. They actually won. I want to say they won Fargo this year with the cadet girls. So
Did there's a lot of the programs. I mean, obviously, finances. Are teams able to get like a secondary coach to help coach the female teams, or is that like is that school by school?
it's school by school. Obviously some schools have a little more resources. I believe there are more and more that do have. I know I saw like Sam Reason was named the girls coach at East Noble, so there's obviously a position there. I don't know how much it pays. That's a school by school thing right now, especially as it's an emerging sport. But once it becomes a full sport, it's almost they have to almost pay somebody, no matter how big or small. So, and it might just be a boys and girls. Sometimes smaller schools like with track will have the same head coach for both girls and boys, or like cross country. Sometimes they have the same coach. But so it'll be interesting to see how that works out there. So, yeah, I mean, as far as what Nick said about Title IX, yeah, that's an interesting. I don't know. I don't that you could. I mean, that's within schools. You can get. I mean, since they don't have a girls equivalent, you don't have anything to compare it to now. So, I don't know. That's someone way higher pay grade than I have to determine how you pay them. Nice. And Hobart has two girls positions, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I had seen Coach Cook had posted it. That's kind of what got me thinking about it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely a something new that you gotta keep an eye on, and it's gonna keep growing, and it's good for the sport. More people wrestling is always a good thing. So, what else do we have to talk about?
I've seen someone ask about the semi-states. I like one of the things I really do like about the site is that like all this, and I messed up on some of my own, but like I like that all of the semi-state guys do their own thing, and it's not necessarily like, well, this is how Mike has it ranked in the state. I'm going to follow those, and then I'll add afterwards. Those guys go and they put their own spin on it, which is really cool. So when I go in there, those guys are obviously seeing those wrestling more than I am. Like when I start seeing some people down south, like I've never been to the Wooden Paddle in Southwestern Madison. So, but I would take Triple B's word for it. Like he's obviously going to see those guys a lot more than I will, But it's always interesting to see like how those guys get ranked out and what kind of where they're at with those. Obviously, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a girls coach. We have a woman head coach for boys and girls. Ooh, that's interesting.
Nice. So, like the movie Wildcats.
Yes.
With Goldie Hawn.
Yeah. Like Triple B, he told us that Van Skinner is going to go down to 82 when we had him up at 220. So that's
I mean, he's big.
Yeah, he likes to lift.
He's a big, strong kid, man.
Yeah. So that should be interesting to see where he ends up. But getting that information from from down south, and they have a little more contacts with people in their areas, and so that helps, and it kind of keeps everyone in check. And you ask why do you have so and so over that guy, and you might have a little bit of a reason of well there's a 6 degree of separation with a common opponent, or maybe I just like that guy better. So
It's never I like that guy better.
so yeah, and it sounds like Lane Gilbert's gonna go down to 120, which
Wow.
for the third straight year, the kid is not growing at all. Which that'll be a tough weight class. You got him, Preston Haynes, Isaiah Schaefer, Luke Rio, Eddie Goss, Dominic McFeely, all at 120. So you got 5 state placers and a qualifier. And you got Haynes, and you got Dominic Brown, who's a pretty darn good freshman. So
Yeah.
you have Haynes, Brown, Rio, and Goss. That's your 4 coming out of that regional, and McFeely. There's 5 in that regional right now. So someone's being left home. A state qualifier. Obviously, Brown's not a state
Ben
qualifier
Davis
yet.
also in that regional, right?
What?
Ben Davis also in that regional.
Yes. So Keith Parker
Parker's
there too.
Yeah.
So you can't escape a state qualifier level guy or placer. No matter who you could see an Isaiah Schaefer, Luke Rio ticker round match or a first round semi-state match.
Well, I think I had this talk with some of the guys from LC, some of the guys from Crown Point, and I know and Lowell. Like right now, just it goes in cycles. The semi-states go in cycles, but the regionals go in cycles too. But if you make it through that Mooresville regional, there's some strong individuals through the semi-state, but your chance of not drawing the guys that we just mentioned, you're not getting Eddie Goss in the ticket round. You're not getting Preston Haynes in the ticket round. You're not getting all those guys and to get there. And I think that's the same thing with Crown Point is that's the toughest regional right now. I know they were talking last year with Carroll. I was like, well, if you miss the South Bend regional, you're not going to get, the toughest guys in your regional already. The worst draw is coming out of your regional.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what, we talked about that 2 years ago when Chesterton won semi-state. We're like, yeah, maybe they went, maybe they went 4-4, whatever, head with Crown Point, but guess what? They won't see him until the finals. So
yeah,
you're separated from them, and most times you're separated completely on opposite sides of the bracket, 1 and 2, or 1 and 3, and that's now I don't have to run into Jesse Mendez in the tick round. I'm not gonna or a handful Logan Frazier or Sam Goen. I know we're not running into that guy in the ticket round. So that's huge. And so that Mooresville Regionals is going to be just as tough. The Matt Scouts rankings came out. The team rankings came out today. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
Yeah, they have Crown Point is number 6. Brownsburg's 29, and Center Grove is number 45. So,
I think we were talking about it a little bit. I know you had said that to me. I might be in the minority, and obviously, I did the rankings, but I don't think Crown Point and Brownsburg are that far apart.
No, I don't. I don't either. I think that's
on paper. I think I have it 7-7.
Yeah.
Right now, November 15th, before Crown Point's even had their wrestle off. I don't even know if Brownsburg's had their wrestle off.
No.
But just kind of looking at it, I think it's going to be really, really close. Bonus points might be the difference, but I think it's going to be incredibly tight.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be interesting where, Crown Point's a little bit stronger in some areas, but it's gonna be interesting to see who fills in for some of the guys at like 95, 220. Actually, 220 would be a big one for Brownsburg. I
Well,
think there's
95 they have Gunner.
yeah,
Um, 82 you'll have Brewer. I mean, down low, I think they close out really well, and then they're pretty solid down low too.
yeah.
They open really strong, and then they close really strong. And Crown Point's kind of solid across.
Yeah, you got Dickman, Hockaday, Haynes, Preston Haynes, Brady Ison, 32. So or Tommy Gibbs in there at 26.
Uh,
Parker
yeah,
Reynolds,
38, and then
45
45.
and 45, 52 and 60 might be interesting ones. And then you're gonna
Yeah, and Crown Point's incredibly strong there.
yeah, yes. There's no question. Then you got Kate.
Ball, Reinhardt,
Yeah,
Going, Goodwin, guys that get bonus points.
yeah. Then you close out with Brewer, Gunner, and Leighton. And 220 will be an interesting one. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, where they're gonna
We
be.
changed that.
That's
We were informed that Maximus Forrester, which is a pretty cool name, will not be wrestling 220.
yeah. Kind of just sometimes you kind of look at who's on their roster, and I mean, he has some pretty good credentials, and you know, I'm
Strong
sure
kid.
Snyder's hoping that people forgot about him, but Mike Breiser did not. So you're kind of
No, I think we were like texting last year at the team state, and I was like, this dude that's wearing this like compression shirt is a heavyweight freshman dude. And I think you're like, that kid, he's huge.
Yeah.
Like that's a grown man. So yeah, that's like a freshman in high school.
Yeah, he's gonna be pretty solid. I think he wrestled at IPO this year. I mean, he's good. They do get well with heavyweights there, and I think he'll be fine. So, but yeah, that's gonna be a fun duel. They're gonna see each other 2 times before team state. I mean, at least in some part, they'll at least have some common opponents and possibly see each other at Ironman and at Carnahan. So, and both coaches are. I mean, both coaches are. I mean, no one wants to overlook a Center Grove or a Cathedral or any of those other teams there or Modern Day, but they both have that match circled. So,
Oh yeah.
I mean that Center Grove. I mean, you have Center Grove and Brownsburg will be a good match too. It'll be interesting to see how some of those guys match up in a duel. So I need to put in some kind of easy thing where we can just compare teams and compare two teams.
I think if Christian Carroll doesn't wrestle, Leighton would be the favorite, but and no disrespect to the guys that have won it, I thought Leighton was the favorite the last 2 years. That'd be exciting. Center Grove has done a really good job of filling out their lineup, because I think sometimes when you get, I mean, we've all been around the sport, you get these like pockets of really strong individuals, and it kind of grows off that, and then you have 5 guys at one weight, or you're right in similar weight classes. But I think they've done a good job in the weight room, and kind of even that out with, Klauser at 70, Weems at 82, McConnell at 95. Like those guys were all like, at one point, I think they were all like 52s.
Yeah.
I
Were they
believe
all 26s a couple years ago?
Yeah, I believe Klauser was like, I think Klauser and McConnell were like 26, 32. So those guys have done a really nice job of, lifting, and losing RD3, I think hurts them. Obviously, like if you go Stutz, all the way through, McConnell, you got Klauser, Weems, RD3, and then you close with Nate Johnson, who I think is a very underrated heavyweight, very strong athlete. I mean, he's ranked high, but I think people don't know how athletic he is and how good he could be. He could be in the mix for a state title.
Yeah. They have. I mean, you got LaRocca, Goss, Yeager, Courtney, Kreisha, Silas Stitz, Andre Merritt, Klauser, Weems, McConnell, Johnson. There's no easy outs in that lineup. So, and I don't know who they're bringing down at 106. let's see, they got
So,
5260 area or 52 area, but they have a lot of guys in that room, so should be interesting
someone
to
had
see.
told me that LaRocca might go 106 again, but I thought he was heavier at the. I thought he was heavier this summer, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, 106 is kind of there's some good guys there, but there's no one. I think 106 will be it will be a fun weight class. There's a lot of youngsters in there that are pretty good, that are going to be pretty solid. So that should be interesting. Jaeger's been in and out of the lineup for the past few years and had some good wins here and there, and he's one
Yeah,
that
he had an awesome win last year. I forgot. Did we still have it on there? Or did we take it off already? I think we took him off.
took it off.
Yeah, um, but I think 106 is a weight that is going to be really, really good. It'd be interesting to see if Jalen May's at 106. I know he was registered 106 for Super 32, correct?
Yes.
If not, I mean, he'll be tough at 13. But I mean, overall, like those are like I was telling someone the other day that we're at a time where like we have some of the best teams to ever do it in Indiana, and whether I'm not like one of those people like, well, when I was in school, it was way better. I think right now we're like living in a golden age of Indiana wrestling. We were just talking about some of the academy stuff, and obviously like that Mooresville regional has really benefited from having some really strong coaching. Not only like at the high school level, like the coaches are very strong, but like Red Cobra, Contenders, and all those guys in that area helping everyone get better. And we were just talking about in our area, Andrew Howe and John Morrison are running a school in our area, and you got Jason Sertzis is back in the area. Stefan Michik is running individual camps, and it's like I don't remember those guys doing that one out in 2001. I don't remember like the world, bronze medalists doing $100 camps. I don't remember NCAA champs like a guy that was coaching in the corner at the NCAA's just like, yeah, man, come to my house and we'll train like 10 kids at a time. And it's like, oh, so Andrew Howe's training those guys now?
Yeah.
He probably knows a lot of wrestling.
Yeah. So seeing, I mean, Ipo, him and Sertzis were in the corner. I mean, how many times in Indiana have you seen two NCAA champions in the corner for a high school match?
Not a lot. There's guys at the NCAA's. I mean, I don't even think Northwestern had two NCAA champs in the corner because Storiolo is not an NCAA champ, right?
No.
Like how many teams had two NCAA champs in the corner? Probably a couple. Like obviously Iowa, but like Kale's one. Who sits with Kale? Is it Varner?
So Varner does, yes. But if the other Sanderson and Cunningham Cunningham didn't win one. I think Cunningham was a runner-up. Maybe he was a champ.
I mean, what's Yanni D's coaches running out there? That's a pretty unique thing to have. Someone told me the other day, they're like, we're working, 30 minutes with John Morrison. We're working on how to finish those singles. It's like, yeah, that guy was at Oklahoma State. He probably knows how to finish those singles pretty well.
Yeah. And people don't realize John Morrison is actually a Munster kid.
Yeah. Like he was right there. I believe that like there was at one point, like it was supposed to be like him, Eric, and maybe like Aaron Sessa possibly go to Munster. Or maybe I'll go to LC or something, back when they were really going through. But John Morrison, incredibly good.
Yeah, he was at least a one-time All-American, wrestled at Oklahoma State. Pretty darn good wrestler. So, I mean, if you don't know who he is, look him up. Kind of not, wrestled at Oklahoma State for 5 years. So that he's coached a little bit here and there. And that's pretty, when I saw at IPO, I saw Howe in the corner. I was like, this isn't fair. This is not nice. Like, we need to get him over here in Fort Wayne. We need to,
Well, talking with the guys in Fort Wayne, it sounds like you guys are doing a lot of this stuff too. Like, the Fort's done well, getting guys there just competing. I know the tech thing. What is it like? The Warrior RTC. I know a lot of people were talking about being in there this summer and just getting better. But I think that's huge.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah. I mean, it's
Tommy Morrison.
yeah.
Remember whenever he turned his back on Rocky and went with Duke?
It's Tommy John's dad.
Tommy Tommy Morrison used to hate his dad. Tommy Machine Gun.
Yeah. So yeah, that's yeah. The Fort and Warrior RCC are doing a great job. It's great to have options. It's great to be able to do things on multiple nights. You know, if a Tuesday's bad for me, you know, for one place, you can go to another place on Wednesday. You know, um, yeah. So yeah, there's and then obviously, I mean, you're out in Indy area. You have like Joe just said. You have Brandon Wright doing some stuff. Some you know he has some small. From what I can tell, he has some small groups. You got Red Cobra. You got Contenders. You got you know a lot of different
Well,
places.
yeah. Yeah, then you got your Fleer School. Man, I'm still amazed of some of the workout stuff that they do is pretty good. I like that they're doing the cameras in the school. They're showing some stuff that they use in practice. Midwest. Tim Wright's a really good coach. Brandon's a good coach. Joe is trying to not trying, but sending me a lot of stuff that Joey was doing this summer, and just getting with those coaches is amazing. You know, get like what his schedule was competing like through the summer. It's like, man, like if you could just take something from all those coaches, and you get obviously Flieger's a couple time All American, is 3-time All American,
Yeah, 3 time. Yeah,
pretty not bad.
you got Reggie Wright. He's not related
Yeah,
to. He's not related to the. Well, I don't. He's not a close relative to Brandon Wright. I don't believe. Maybe he is. I don't know.
no, he's All American too, right?
Yeah. Yes. He's over in Illinois now. Last I knew, just over the border. But so,
Nice. I hope Union County does get the invite. Ask.
well, so yeah. So you know, uh, that's. I mean, it's good for all areas.
Yeah, I think not all schools, and these guys are all always on. You're at a lot of the events. You see a lot of the same coaches at those events, right? Like you see, we talked about this before. The teams that are having success, those guys are following their guys all year. But not every program has that coach that's going to be able to. I mean, these guys have lives too, so it's good to supplement that, with CIA or Red Cobra or Contenders, and those guys go get those work there and keep working. Our area's had pretty good success with that. I know before a lot of guys were going into Illinois with overtime, and then the Twisters, the Harvey Twisters guys would go there, and those guys are phenomenal. Like seeing those guys at tournaments was like watching highlight reels.
Yeah. Yeah. Overtime was one of the first that actually started making it. You know, a thing. And, that they were one of the early ones with making it an actual wrestling school, and that's all they did. There wasn't there another one around that area in Illinois that kind of was a little bit of competed with overtime here and there. I remember.
I know Poeta like
Okay,
later,
yeah,
and then I know a lot of the clubs. I believe like Twisters was a club, like Little Celtics was a club. They did really well. Um, but you'd see those guys at tournaments and it'd just be crazy. I mean, like the Twisters had like a huge run of putting out guys that were just like high level guys. I mean, obviously the Williams brothers. Um, but overtime was really cool. Like you had Sean Bornmet there, who's now at Michigan, and I really do believe that like he had a really good about clubs and like getting better outside of like your program. Sean Bornmet, I thought had a really good like system of getting people better. You've seen like guys like Eric McGill and Kyle Erzman, Andrew Howe, Cosgrove all going to there. Eric Galka, just a huge amount of guys making that trip out to Illinois, out in Naperville, I believe, and those guys are just getting so much better coming back to Indiana.
yeah, definitely. I mean, those guys were all really successful. Nothing flashy out of any of those guys. Just real solid basics. If you remember watching a lot of those guys, I mean, Andrew Howden just hand fought you to death, but nothing flashy, nothing, just solid basics, and You know, that's a really good system to be successful. Yeah,
Overtime did.
yeah. Reggie says they ruined Illinois wrestling. That's interesting.
Illinois wrestling's doing pretty good right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Illinois is still pretty darn good. And
Like nationally, like with the Fargo stuff, they're really good. Um, I seen Jesse took his first loss this year.
yeah, that was I was watching that one live. That was an interesting match. Obviously, Latona was I believe he was an All American 2 years ago at 125. Big, tall, lanky, kind of a tough, just a tough. You know, it's going to be a tough matchup, and Latona got a takedown, and Jesse just couldn't get it in close enough. He got close towards the end, but nothing. I mean, it was one of those matches that you know it's early in the season. It'll be motivating for him. I mean, I don't know if you end up watching that, but it is an interesting match. It was like one of those just couldn't close the gap and fire off a good solid attack, and that's a thing that you got to be able to do at that level, especially when you're down.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be an adjustment. Not everyone's David Taylor or Kyle Dake or Kelsey Anderson. But when you go out there, when Kale wasn't a true freshman when he wrestled that first year, but there's going to be some adjustment. Yeah, it says the Turner was All American 2001,
20.
but
I don't know if he was alive in 2001.
or 2000. I'm sorry, 2021, probably not. Yeah, Jeff Jordan too. Yeah.
Yeah, Jordan. A lot of Indiana people go to Jordan for their camps, especially over here in this area, and on the east side of the state. I know a lot of them go there, but yeah, Jesse's match. It's one of those things that he couldn't. When someone's retreating, it's hard to score, and he just couldn't get his. Latona just backed away enough, didn't get any stall calls. That type of stuff that you get away with a little bit more in college than you do high school. Playing the game a little bit. That I mean, and he'll get better from it. I mean, if they'd see each other again, I would give in at least in a month or more, I think Jesse will beat him. So it's a one takedown match, and that's going to happen at the collegiate level.
And then did Bisakis wrestle at 41 in that also?
Yeah, he did. I want to say Decatur. Decatur got hurt at Michigan State. Is it? Yeah. And then the other guy, I think both their two guys were hurt. Were both hurt from Michigan State Open or previous. So since they have the new redshirt rule, where they can wrestle like 5 events and not burn a red shirt, so they threw him out there, and he got after it early, but I think size was the difference there.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to see that new redshirt rule. With they're able to wrestle 5 events attached, so they can throw them in at duels, they can throw them in at tournaments, things like that. So we might see someone like Zeke Seltzer or Jay Conway wrestle a few duels or a few bigger events. For Missouri, and Seltzer lost to Lucas Bird by 1 point this past weekend too.
Nice.
So
could see Jesse and Seltzer again possibly down the road, huh?
Yeah. So yeah. Jordan is redshirt. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. They so they had a couple guys out, and they can throw them in. They can throw Buzakis out. Buzakis just wrestled 133 the week before, so I would assume that size was a little bit of a disadvantage. He looked smaller, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, especially with someone like Buzakis, who's sounds like he's redshirting this year from everything. But they can throw him out for a couple more matches and see how he goes, and maybe he might be the guy at the end of the season or whatever, So it should be it'll be fun to, especially someone like Silas Allred, who just started wrestling. Seems like he graduated in 2015.
And he was young when he graduated. He was 17 when he graduated, right?
Yeah, he was young for his grade. You're on the younger side, but yeah, he finally starting to wrestle after 2 years, a redshirt year, then another redshirt year, basically. So I think he still has four. He's still a freshman now. So
I think he had like a good first win that first week opening weekend, right?
yeah, he beat a pretty like a mid-teens ranked guy, and then I think he took a loss this past weekend. But he's going to be in the mix there, and I think it'll be good for him to get his getting that regular rhythm of wrestling every week or every other week. I think when you're redshirting and not wrestling, I don't think you don't get those consistent reps, and I think that's something that can really affect people. Once you start getting that consistent weigh in, consistent effects, you're good.
We should get like a weekly wrestling show or college show going.
Yeah,
I don't follow college as much as I should, but like my buddy would definitely text me and tell me everything that he thinks.
yeah, yeah. And Joe Walker was starting for Michigan. That did you see that duel?
I
Michigan.
see he got a dub too, right?
Yeah, they wrestled in a hangar at Fort Bragg, I think. They wrestled
That's pretty
in
cool.
a hangar, and during one of the matches, they had a rain delay, and they had to move a plane so they could close the hangar. So
It's
that's
pretty
pretty
cool.
cool. So yeah, so they that'll be interesting. In a lot of college wrestlings, they're starting up. You know, smaller schools and stuff. I just put out the college preview of uh, Blaze Lowry did a preview on Jordan Slivka, Carson Brewer, and Lucas Davison. So check that out on the board.
Nice. I was kind of looking at some of the Ohio the Ohio University stuff. I seen Andrew was in the lineup at Michigan State too, huh? Did pretty well.
Who was that?
Andrew Davidson.
Yeah, he's been starting for Northwestern too. I think he had a pretty good Michigan State Open, if I recall correctly. So
I seen Bates in there. Evan Bates still at Northwestern.
Yep, Northwestern has a pretty good number of. Well, they have a lot of Chesterton guys. So yeah. Anything else we want to talk about? It's kind of a slow week. We're gonna start getting some results coming in this week. Post your results so that we have stuff to talk about. Should be some big matches coming up. Rankings are starting to come out. Working on getting magazines out. Hopefully they're out by the end of this week, so you guys can get them either Saturday or next Monday.
It's crazy. It's like some people are still. I think Crown Point's wrestle offs this week, and some people are competing this week.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty crazy. Some people's already competed.
Yeah, that's When's Crown Point's first match? Let's see. They probably don't wrestle for a little bit. I know there's some. I know Brownsburg doesn't have a first match till after Thanksgiving. They wrestled November 22nd against Portage. So next Tuesday in a week, Crown Point wrestles. So that should be they'll wrestle a pretty solid Portage team. So that could be a. I mean, there's gonna probably be some good matches there. Giandris, Tolbert, Captor, Button. So there should be some good matches in there. But
Definitely to see. I haven't talked to Acuna. I probably ask him when I start doing the football, or not the football, but the semi-state rankings to kind of see where they're at. I mean, there's a lot of football teams still going, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good wrestling teams. I know Brownsburg just got put out this past.
Whiteland's killing people, right?
Yeah. So they.
I think Whiteland's been like destroying people right now.
Yeah. Let's see who's in for semi.
Center Grove, Cathedral, Hamilton Southeastern.
Yeah, Hamilton Southeastern, Carroll, Center Grove always has a good team, good wrestling team. Cathedral, Snyder will have some guy. I mean, I'm pretty sure VZ, Valpo, Whiteland, Castle. So Purdy's
Ooh,
probably playing.
yeah, Purdy's out there. That'll be exciting.
New Prairie,
So either
New Prairie.
Whiteland, Purdy, Showdown.
Yeah, Roncalli, East Central. They both that could be a team state preview there. Um, Chittard, West Lafayette, Monrovia. Monrovia is only 6-7, and they're in semi-state. Wow. And Lawrenceburg.
Peaking at the right time.
Yeah. Mater Day. They're always pretty good. Adams Central. They never start on time. Indianapolis Lutheran. So yeah, that's. So there's still some teams out there competing. Who was that semi-state? Westfield just got done, and I know they've had some pretty long seasons. Brownsburg just got beat. Warren Central just got beat. Maryville, Mishawaka, Plainfield, Bloomington South, New Pal, Evansville Memorial, Columbia City. I know they just won their matches, so I know they moved their match with Prairie Heights. They're supposed to wrestle this week till next week. Let's see, Yorktown, Southridge, Owen Valley. So Owen Valley probably had quite a few teams in there, or wrestlers. They have some pretty good big guys there. Let's see who else was down there. Any other bigger schools that are pretty solid. Yeah, so
I always say like Cathedral don't like look at Cathedral results until like the track off, because their football guys are still getting back.
yeah, and they usually have that week before they have their Super Duel. That is pretty solid. It's always pretty solid. So
Yeah, Mishawaka I think still playing.
yeah, Mishawaka just got beat by Snyder. So
Fort Wayne Snyder.
yeah,
Do you guys call it Fort Wayne Snyder or just Snyder?
and we just call it Snyder up here, but when you're talking about the state, you call them Fort Wayne Snyder, I guess, but not Fort Wayne Carroll.
I'm trying to think. I think I guess we just call it like the Hammond schools like Gavitt and Morton, Hammond High, but they're not all there anymore.
Yeah.
But we call the Gary schools like Gary Westside. I guess we just call it Roosevelt. Yeah. I was wondering how the rest of the state does it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, but when I call it Hammond Morton, so.
Yeah. Well, I just think about like how Kevin Whitehead calls it out. So.
Yeah. No, that's he's the authority on how you pronounce things.
Yeah, I think so. Well, he says semi-state. I say semi-state.
Semi-state. So.
Different.
I don't think we have too much else to talk about. Big week, starting wrestling. Then you got Thanksgiving next week. Garrett's its own town, its own metropolis. So
I remember I was in Waterloo, Iowa, and I think I posted I was in Waterloo, and you thought I was in like out by Garrett. Not like at the actual. I think the Waterloo, Iowa is like the actual Waterloo.
no, Waterloo, Indiana is the original.
Is it? I think Waterloo, Iowa is the home of Dan Gable. They have a Dan Gable museum.
Waterloo, Indiana is the home of Andy Oberlin.
Okay. Man, pretty close. Check out Dane and Rex. I was on the Dane and Rex show this weekend.
Ah, nice.
Sunday night. I was supposed to go on a couple weeks. Well, I wanted to go do the media day out there, but we were playing. So I told them if we had like a bad day, I could probably make it, but we ended up having a good day, so we played later. And then the second week they did it, it was my birthday weekend. Turned the big 4-0.
Uh-oh.
You can obviously tell I got a little bit more gray than I normally do. And then this weekend I was on just talking about number ones and stuff like that. Just I think Dane's very meticulous in his scheduling. We're not, but I think I was taking too much time. But at the end they were like I had seen it on the board, but I didn't click on it about Coach Gunsit and You know, kind of caught me off guard. I told Dane I wasn't prepared for that. Like you asked me about number ones, I'm usually pretty prepared, but it's a tough situation. It sounds like that he's dealing with. But thoughts and prayers are going out to Coach Gunsit. I know that they're doing T-shirt sales to help offset some medical costs and just crazy, man. It's a crazy world. I know this year was a crazy year for my family. I know the Mishawaka family lost. We didn't talk about it last week. Mike Faulkner, who was an amazing, amazing person, official, just a great guy. The thing with Chad Rad having the aneurysms, I seen that, and it's just scary, man. Just you never know.
Yeah.
Everything's so short, and it's one of those things. I think when you see stuff like that, it makes it a little easier to be, hold your family a little tighter and tell people you love them a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely check the social media for Belmont. They have shirts for Coach Gunsit. And so that's yeah, definitely. When I heard about it, I was like, you know, like wow, just because I'm pretty positive his wife just had cancer a few years ago, and I think they got through that fairly well and about as well as you can, and now getting hit with another health issue. So hopefully they things go well for him, and that's some scary stuff. So
Yeah, and I think we both know how tight that community is too.
oh yeah.
You know, it's a super tight knit community, and prayers are going out to him and his family, and um, obviously the sport prepares you to fight, and I'm sure he'll fight it tough. I mean, we were talking about. We had heard last year about Mike and just kind of seeing that just right before the season. Incredibly hard. I mean, he's just a really good guy. A
Yeah.
really good, like one of the best, honestly. Like always a huge guy, like huge intimidating guy, and then just the nicest dude. Like it's like one of those guys where this guy could probably kill you. You know
Yeah.
and just the nicest dude, and you hate to see that, but but when that happens, you see the impact that he had on so many areas of people's lives across the board, and you never know when it's your time, but you hope that you make a positive impact, and just seeing the posts and stuff, and from like all across the board, not just the wrestling community, which is really really cool.
Yeah. He loved Mishawaka. I know. I didn't realize he was a D2 All American in wrestling
Really.
until I was reading his obituary. I'm like, wow, he was a D2 All American. So yeah, he one of the coolest things I can he got to ref. He was refing at IPO last year, and him and his son Austin were refing on the same mat for a finals match. And I told Adam Hartzell, the photographer, I'm hey, try to if you can try to get both them in that picture in a couple pictures. I know they would I know Mike would love that, and I sent him those pictures. I said I thought you might like these, and you could just tell just in the email that he sent. He's like, man, that's so awesome. Thank you very much. That type of it's like one of those things that you could just tell that something like that made his day, might have made his week, and I'm sure that that kind of picture, seeing his son following in his footsteps, was huge for him. And yeah, Mike's a great guy, and it's gonna be weird going to the Al Smith or anywhere close to a tournament over there and not seeing him and saying hi and asking how things are going and everything.
Pretty good. Beat Bruce Baumgartner once in college. It's pretty good. Bruce,
Not too
pretty good.
shabby.
It's a good win. It's a good win. That's a real good win. Um,
Yes.
I'm willing to bet Bruce don't have a lot of losses. Um, yeah, and I think that's you know we do this, and I think the site helps keep people close. But when they're in February, and everyone's at the same location, it's so tight, and you see these people, and you get these connections, and you see stuff like that, and it's really sad,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. So.
But even like I was saying, like the CJ Red thing, like that's scary. That's a guy that's a peak athlete, and it sounds like everything went well, and which is exciting. But like you never know. It's right there.
Yeah, and he was supposed to be competing, I believe, this weekend. I know when I I talked to him, either that or his dad, fairly recently, and I was like, you competing? He's competing. He was planning on going to Belfarrel, and what obviously that's a little bit of a change of plans, but
Well,
hopefully they caught everything early, and sounds like everything went as pretty well. So that's scary.
yeah, I mean, we were literally just talking about how cool it would be for him and his dad to go into the Hall of Fame on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And then that I think that got posted what, like Tuesday or Wednesday, or no, it had to be like early or Thursday last week. And I mean, it's that quick. Hopefully everything went well. It sounds like it went well, but you know, appreciate everybody. I think that's the biggest thing is like it's easy to get caught up in like rankings or little things, and just it's really cool to appreciate everybody in the community and what they bring, and I always think that's really cool. I just thought that was one of those things. I did the show, and it was a call in, and I was like, it was weird. I was telling Joe before, like, I think I was talking a lot, and then like I do tend to ramble on.
Whoa, whoa,
And
whoa! You talk a lot? No.
I, yeah, I know. 5 minute to state finals. Kim loves that. She loves after the state finals talks. Um, but like my Bluetooth was cutting out, and I'm like, what? Like, hold on, what did you say? And then it just caught me off guard, and I really did feel bad. I don't feel like I had like a great response to it, and it's tough. But my prayers go out to Coach Gunsit and his family, and hopefully, you know, hopefully everything goes well.
Yep. So, I think for now we are looking at Tuesdays as our for at least a few more weeks. Correct? Is that correct for
Yeah,
Guerrilla Radio?
a lot of softball in my life still through the winter, so
So, just
got a
for
full
probably
schedule.
a couple more weeks. So we'll have a lot to talk about next Tuesday. Just make sure you just have sign up for notifications on Facebook, and then you get the notifications. Or text me like Nick does. Just text me. Are you doing it? So yeah, that gives me time working on a new studio. So maybe next week I might have a new a little bit of a setup going. So might have a new studio with a better background. Actually, not a better one, but not my green screen, so you can't see the messy basement with Legos and everything. So, but we'll probably see you guys next Tuesday, 9:30 ish Eastern time, 8:30 if you're in the region or down in Evansville. So, with that, we're gonna get out of here, and we will talk to you guys next week.